Kirwan is the Managing Director of Clear Cut Marketing based in Dunleer, County Louth. On Business Blog, he offers Miriam O'Gara his unique point of view on building a business, his expansion, and the road ahead as we emerge from the pandemic. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Business Block. Our very, very special guest is Mark Kirwan. You're welcome to Business Block.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Lovely to be here.
Great to see you. Now, listen, where are you based?
We're based in Dunleer, County Louth. I suppose it's been a very kind of weird journey in the last year or two to get to where we are, but we're on Main Street, Dunleer, in County Louth, and then we expanded really from our garage that we had converted to be a workshop to where we are now, and we've got 3,000 square feet here in Main Street, Dunleer.
Okay, so and what is the traffic like at the moment during the pandemic? Have you had is it click and collect, or have you had footfall at the door? We weren't.
You see, we didn't have footfall is not allowed. Click and collect wasn't allowed. So, but what we did was we were originally a company that specialised in business wear, merchandise, sportswear for sports clubs and organisations, and that business kind of disappeared. So that, because sport wasn't allowed to happen, click and collect wasn't allowed to happen, retail was shut down, and which was kind of inconvenient for us because we only really took out the lease from January here, even though we started moving in December. So we really had to just come up with a plan B for the last couple of months, 5 months maybe, and that was really to develop a mail order kind of company specifically. And as I said to you off air just a little while ago, that the traditional business now has come back with a vengeance in the last 2 weeks.
And so what difference do you think that's going to make now? How quickly do you think this will unfold for you?
It's already unfolding. We are gone from a situation where the traditional end of the business could have been done in a half a day a week to where we're now booked 3 weeks in advance.
Oh my God.
And that's in the space of 2 weeks.
Now, you specialize in catering to individuals, groups, organizations. Did you have very much of a fall off over the pandemic?
It disappeared.
It did?
Disappeared totally.
Across all sectors? Across
all sectors. The only ones that would have probably given us a little bit, or we got a little bit of business with, was the masks, which we were in a partnership with a mask manufacturer in Ireland, which is very difficult, and a very, very good Irish company based in Balbriggan. And that kind of opened our eyes really to the possibility of the online sales being a potential market for us.
Yeah. And from the point of view of supports, did you find that there were any networks, any funding available for yourself? What would you consider yourself to be? Would you call yourself micro business or small business?
We'd be an SME. I suppose a small business. We'd be a micro business. Yeah. But certainly we'll be firmly into that SME bracket now, with the size of the space that we have and the size of the place that we have. And realistically, like for example, for us as a business, individuals would have been on the PUP since January, since we were all shut down because retail was shut. We had a new shop, we had rates. Sorry, we didn't have rates. We had rent, we had electricity, all the usual overheads, but we weren't allowed to actually have a business from the shop. And that was kind of where the mail order came in. It allowed us to continue to function as a business, such as paying the landlord, paying rent, paying electricity, and making all that kind of stuff without necessarily making enough maybe to keep your employees employed. But it allowed us to continue as a business, hoping that what we've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks would happen, and it seems to have happened, that the business would come back.
Yeah. Did you need to reduce down staff?
We had no staff at one stage.
Right. So it was yourself and Teresa?
Just myself. At one stage, yeah, absolutely, okay. Absolutely. So, and again, it was a very kind of trackable business model we had with the online stuff, but the more we've done it, the better we've gotten at it. So it's become a more consistent part of the business.
How complicated was it for you to make the switch over to online and postal?
Yeah, it was like upfront, the learning and the design, and again, because we're working off a budget or a business model that had zero revenue from when we shut down last year. So all of our budgets were extremely tight. So you're talking about having an idea, designing the website,
Yes.
integrating it with Shopify, which I found to be fantastic, and then finding out ways via Facebook to market the website. So we've gotten very good at that, and it's a really effective platform to do that.
And have you because I'm surprised you saying that you did find Shopify good. I've heard very mixed reviews about them. So you found them very good. What other social media platforms worked?
Well, we tried Snapchat, which didn't work. Absolutely didn't work from a business model. It may work from kids and whatever else model. It doesn't work for us. Twitter didn't work for us. Facebook owned Instagram, so it's a combination between Facebook and Instagram. And they were like a paid sponsored ad by us, with a view to determining what the return on the spend. So they got all these complicated terms. So you've got a return on spend really. And so if you decide to spend €1 on advertising, you've got to see how many euros you get back in business before you determine whether that's a successful model to go ahead with.
So you'd wonder, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to test you out to see if you're a serious business person or what?
Absolutely, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. So for example, if your idea costs you €1 and the return is €2, because there are lots of other costs in there, such as hosting with your website, Shopify fees, transactional fees from PayPal or Shopify payment fees or whatever, that's a model that's not going to work. However, if you can get 10 times your spend on sales, now, that doesn't mean that you make 10 times the amount. It means that your revenue is 10 times the amount, and your profit may be whatever you decide it is going to be on the items that you're selling. And then once it all factors in and it works out financially, well, then it becomes a good kind of model to go forward with. And we seem to have hit that kind of model. So we seem to hit the performance levels that we need.
From the perspective of getting paid online and getting paid through your website, would you recommend any particular group? Would you go for Stripe? Would you go for obviously not PayPal? You don't seem to be too keen.
Yeah, no, we do. We actually use them all. So
you use them all.
Yeah,
okay.
I suppose one of the key things here is not about necessarily being flexible for ourselves. It's been flexible for the customer. So whatever encourages the customer to do their business with you is the model that we have to have available. So if some customers use Stripe, so some business customers we would invoice with Sage and then they pay via Stripe or pay via bank transfer, absolutely perfect. Some customers, Shopify has two options for us. So it would have its own payment scheme and it would also have a PayPal payment scheme. And we're also adding in a third party payment scheme as well that would have a less percentage transactional fee.
Right. So Shopify works for a product-based company like yourself. Do you think it would work for services-based?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a whole different ball game. So the product and the payments part of it, probably no. I suppose the premise on Shopify is that it allows you to have a shop.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that's all there is. So you can also have more of an informational website and use it in the same way to drive traffic and to drive people with kind of interests that are akin to the service you're providing to your website. So I suppose, for example, this is an example. This is a weird example that I'm going to give you now. So in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy had some sparkly shoes, right? So if I had sparkly shoes by the bucket load here, if we had 1,000 units, we could then determine, first of all, the market price. And the online price is much more competitive than, so we have to know that people, when they log online, they can check out, I don't know, 500, 1,000 vendors to determine how good a quality you are or not, how good a price you are. But so we've got 1,000 pair of shoes. We then need to determine who is our market. So the market are designed for ladies. So it's a female market, and they're probably fit into the demographic of, I don't know, 18 to 45, maybe 18 to 55, 18 to 70. So then that's another demographic that we add. And then the third part, anybody who's got an interest in old movies, such as Dorothy, Wizard of Oz, anyone who's got an interest in musicals, anybody who likes sparkly shoes. And all of these demographics and all of this information feeds into how efficient your marketing campaign will be. And that's the part that we probably got very good at, even for months where we were all shut down doing nothing and trying to work all this out. that's the part of the business that we got good at determining, without actually ever selling anything, but we got good at determining how to target a product at an audience that wants the product. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely, and it's very, very well explained as well, because I have shied off, because it's more of a service-based product that I've shied off looking at Shopify, and I've been tempted, very, very tempted, but I'll have another look at them now. That's very interesting. Did you have a marketing background?
No, I had a heavy sales background for 30 years or 40 years or whatever. I was an IT engineer, and then we ran our own company, and it was a company in Dundalk, and I just kind of got tired of IT to a certain extent. I decided that I would make a change, and believe it or not, one of my very first jobs was I was a cutting room supervisor in a textile factory in Drogheda. And so I'm nearly back. We've nearly come around full circle. So it's back to clothing and
Isn't
textiles.
that amazing?
Yeah, it's mad. It's a bit of weird. So there's a bit of comfort in clothing. Yeah, there's a bit of comfort maybe in something that you know, something maybe that you enjoyed, and something that there's a lot of distance in your mind from any stressful situations or whatever it was.
Absolutely.
But yeah, back to something that we enjoy and something that we know, and something that we can apply the lessons of last year to, as well as maybe been able now to have a conventional business.
This is it, exactly.
Having conventional employees now, and having conventional. So what we have is we've got a scenario where we will be re-employing our employees, and maybe taking on 1 or 2 more now, as the next 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks go on.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely wonderful. Now you for my husband, you've also been producing products for us from very early on. You know, we had our mugs for our students, Old Bridge private tuition, and we used to give them. He handed me in one of these. They love these. They absolutely love the packs.
Yeah.
You know, with the zips, to be able to keep all of their notebooks and the coursework that is specifically theirs, because my husband has a grind school. And I really, even for the adults who come in, you know, who aren't, 16, 17-year-olds, they love getting these.
Yeah, I know. But that's the whole idea. And I suppose not the tuition business, but that business of, I suppose there was a whole level of insecurity and unsureness, and that's probably not the right word, on anybody that was doing business. Like even now, we're all going back, and the government is opening up.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say that anybody who owns their own business or runs their own business is 100% confident that we will stay opened, or that it's over, that the pandemic is over.
No, it's not over. This is the truth. But we are more equipped. We've got a blueprint to work from now. And it sounds as though you've got a terrific one. You know now, if we close again, which could happen. Look at India. It could happen. And looking at Belgium and looking at Spain yesterday in the news, and some of the behaviors, you never know what can happen. They've been very cautious here. You've got your blueprint. What would your advice now be to someone moving forward, similar industry to yourself, or someone who has actually decided to, go with a startup that they've been maybe thinking about for 5 or 6 years, and now they've taken the risk, they've taken this opportunity and this window?
Well, I suppose you've got to be sure, you've got to be confident in what the product or the service that you're selling. So, and you got to have faith in it. Forget about the environment that we're living in at the moment, but you've got to have faith in it. You got to work hard. So there's no 9 to 5, that doesn't exist. There's none of this kind of stuff.
No.
Sometimes it's a 7-day week, 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day scenario. And you can't take no for an answer, right? And by me saying that's not to your bank, that's not to a customer, you just can't take no from an answer. You'll bump your head against the wall so many times that it's really important to have an attitude that you bounce back well, and that nothing is ever final.
No.
Negatively. There are problems, but there are always solutions. So it's just about getting the right solution for you as a business. Yes. For us, it was online and been able to clearly identify our target audience. But as I said to you, now and just only 2 weeks into the announcements, our conventional business has come back, and we will now be hopefully able to open up, which will be fantastic.
Oh,
which means
my gosh.
we're re-employing our people and we're doing all that kind of stuff. So.
And it must make a huge difference to family life as well. I mean, the relief within the household must be palpable.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I'm sure everybody. I'm just going to adjust here. I'm sure everybody in the country and in the world and in Europe and wherever they're from has had that feeling of anxiety at least once in the last year, and I think that's a normal thing. And at times in the last year, business became secondary. Anyway, because there was so much going on. Obviously, we're all aware of what happened January, February here in the country. Like, to be honest, business was secondary. People's survival nearly was more important. People's mental health was more important. All of these things are more important at times than just plain and simple business. And in fairness to the government this time, like the supports that they brought out probably allowed people not to have that ultimate stress.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
And like I would have felt that as a business owner and as somebody who had worked for themselves and had my wife working in the company and yeah, there's a certain amount of stress.
Absolutely.
Just going to get rid of this. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah. So and yet, maybe to have that financial support was very, very important. Because if not, maybe we wouldn't be in a position mentally or financially or anything else to be able to resume our business now, if that makes sense to you.
No, it does. It makes sense because all of us, you know, and also, I mean, in our situation, my husband's business totally stopped. The school I was working in just stopped 11th of March.
Yeah.
And of course, then you have, like, Colin is waiting for 2 hip replacements. He should have had his first one 13 months ago. This pandemic kicked off around then. He should be having his second one now. Pain relief was difficult to get. You know, there are so many things that basically catch you, take your energy, confuse you, weigh on your shoulders. You don't know what way to turn. If you then have that little cushion, it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money, just a small cushion that you can rely on. That is what PUP, and that's what a lot of those payments did for people. It bought them time to actually work out a blueprint and move forward.
Absolutely. And I was probably very lucky in health-wise, because in 2019 I had prostate cancer, so we had surgery, and then luckily enough my recovery happened at the start of the pandemic. But then towards the end of last year, I had to have corrective surgery for an issue that came up. And I was very, very lucky that I was able to get into hospital in the beginning of December and get out and have it all resolved. So we do hear an awful lot about negativity about the hospitals and everything else and all of that type of stuff. However, these people work very hard behind the scenes.
They do.
And they're doing their best. And that would be my feedback and my feeling on what happened, and I just wanted to take this opportunity in case any guys are looking at this. The test for what I had, it's a blood test. So, and I would have been diagnosed at 48. So just get that blood test. If you're in getting your cholesterol checked, just ask them to tick the box and just have that check. It cost you nothing. And for me, it made, like, I would feel that I'm back to 100% energy.
Oh, fantastic.
I would feel that I'm back to, if you were talking to my wife, as hyper as I ever was. And that's because of the early diagnosis that I had and the ability then to make informed decisions about what type of treatment that I needed. So, so for your listeners and your viewers, for the men or the women who are concerned about a man, go get the blood test.
Yeah,
I know that wasn't what we were supposed to do for this conversation, but I think it's an important message.
Because look, if your business is also your passion, you've got to be well.
Yeah, absolutely. Your health is your wealth, and that it was never more true in the last couple of years.
Yes, absolutely. For people, as I say, for people who maybe haven't actually taken the decision over the last 14 months to start their startup, but they still have that itch. They still want to move forward. You've said, treat the business as a business. You've said, make sure that you have confidence in yourself. What else would you suggest them to do? Is there anything, any network that you would recommend? Anything out there that really?
Well, I suppose for me, and it's always been this way, so having a big sales and customer service background, your reputation is everything. So, and I think that reputation, if you have a reputation currently, even in a different environment, that reputation tends to follow you everywhere. So your reputation is all you have in business. And that could be financial, it could be personal, it could be customer based, it could be anything based. And to protect that reputation is extremely important. And I don't mean that by closeting it in and ring fencing it. I mean exposing it to more critique at times, exposing it to more customers and more opportunities to grow at times. And that's what it's all about. And obviously to have something. So again, there's no point in us selling moon rocks in Ireland if there isn't a market for moon rocks in Ireland, even though it might be the best idea. And maybe in Oregon or Nebraska, they love moon rocks, but your business is in Ireland. So you have to have a sound business proposition in your own mind. So it's not, you're not proposing it to anybody else, but it's a sound business proposition. And in your own mind, what will work? How do I know it's going to work? And I think you probably be familiar with a SWOT analysis there. So it's your strengths, your weakness, your opportunities, and your threats. Like, it's one of the most simple things, just to sit down and write it on a single piece of paper. And if that doesn't work, maybe it should be something else that you're thinking about. Because if one of those is a glaring no, it's and then you have the people that will make it work. So to me, it's always been, do I have a market? What is my market? Who are my market? How can I deliver the product or service to my market? And if all of those are answered, it's good.
Well, that is wonderful advice. And I think you're absolutely right. Your reputation is everything. Absolutely everything. And you cannot put a price on it ever. Oh, Mark Kirwan, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody, this is Business Block with Miriam, and our guest today has been Mark Kirwan. Clear Cut Marketing, look them up. Thank you so much for being on the show, Mark. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.